Hi everyone, welcome to this video. So in this video I'll be showing you how I created this cool visualization, and this is called a variable offset chart, which was discovered by one of the Tableau champions. So yes, I've connected to Sample EU Superstore, which is my data source, and I'm using the orders table, and I'm going to create a sheet to create this visualization. Let me delete this first sheet because it's empty. Alright, so I've created this chart prior to this video. So again, it's called the variable offset chart, and the exciting thing about this chart is because of this lines you see underneath here, which is attached to each of the bar charts. It's different from the lollipop chart. It's quite different again, but it's the same concept of merging two measures and synchronizing them, but we'll get into that details as we go on in the video. So this lines here is attached to each of the bars, and it makes it's readable, and makes each of the labeling or icons underneath it traceable to each chart. So it's quite user friendly. So let's dive right in. So I will first of all highlight all the steps I use in there. I will be needing multiple calculated fields, about 3 or 4 of them. So but the first step highlights me creating the visualization itself. So I've attached a customer name, and I've also put in the measures I'll be needing here. The discount here is not a calculator table, so, or a calculator field rather. So I will get into that in detail. So we need to, first step, we need to create the visualization, which I will do in this sheet. So let's come in here, and you can see customer name is quite detailed. I'll drag that to the column, and I'll drag a measure, possibly profit, or did I use discount in the order? So let's just use discount as well, so we can get the same results. Forget about the color for now. So this is what it looks like when we attach to it, but I ordered this in from highest to lowest, so I can actually do that, but it's not necessarily to achieve what I want to achieve, but I will just do that right away. This is the ordering from the highest to the lowest. So I'll go back to the charts and tell you the next step. So the next step is to number them. We want to attach even number and odd number to each of these charts. We know how we're going to be doing that. Okay, so the first one will be even or odd number, so depending on what we want to do. So when we are going to, the reason why we're creating even number and odd number for each of the bars is to make sure we separate them into two categories. At least one of them will be even and the others will be odd numbers. So what do? We're going to create a calculated field, and in this case I will first of all number it based on that. So if you look at this calculated field, it's called numbering. So but it's just holding the index formula for the purpose of numbering. So I'll come in here and create the index formula, which is numbering, and it's already created. So this is it. All right, index formula into numbering. I'll drag that into labels. Okay, so this is for the purpose of just numbering, again, not because of hierarchy. Hierarchy was because I ordered it, and again, it's not necessary. And the purpose of this chart, again, I like I said before, is to make it readable and traceable to each of the labels. In this case, I just added extra value to it. I want to give some customers apple, and I want to give them some mangoes. So I'll start with giving them an apple. This is quite small, that's why it's not showing. I'll give them, let me just exclude this one. Okay, so the same thing, because this is usually the first. So I want to give the first apple, then followed by a mango, and it goes on. It depends on your use case, but again, the importance is to make sure that each of the allocation or labeling is attached to a bar chart and is linked quite easily. So let's go to our practice. So the first step, again, like I said, is to create our visualization, customer and discount. The second one is to create a calculated field called, using the index formula. You can name it whatever it is, but I named it numbering. The second layer is to create another calculated field, and in this case, this is what I have in my calculated field. This is where I applied the modular formula, So I'll be dividing the numbering by 2. Modular is to make sure you are able to identify an even or odd number. And I said the reason why we want to use even and odd number is to categorize them into, just to make sure we have 2 categories for each of the customers. So now if I divide this number by 2 and there is a remainder, that means it's odd. And if it is not, there's no remainder. If you divide by 2, any number you divide by 2 and does not have a remainder of 1 is an even number. That's what this calculated field does. So we'll be able to achieve odd and even number based on this calculation. So now that's has been created and I named it modular. I'm going to drag modular again into the labels, okay? And it goes on. You can see 1 has odd, 2 because it's quite small, then 3 odd, and goes on and on like that. And because I have a large data set, so we've been able to identify odd and even number, and it's sequential that way. Okay, so this should be even. You can see from my tooltip, odd, even, and it goes on and on. Because of the numbering, of course, that's why we'll be able to get the sequence. So next thing is to create another calculated field. I'll call this label position. That's what I call it. You can call it whatever you want. Now this is for us to create another bar chart. So this bar chart is what you see as tiny lines in there, is a bar chart. And the reason why we have this is this. Let me explain this formula. So the modular, which is odd, should have 1 as its position, and even number should have 1. It should have 3. This is the reason, because when we go to our chart, look at this side, because we've hidden the labels in there. So all this part will be negative. From 0 downwards will be negative. So when we get to this point, this will be -1. So -1, -2, -3. This is -3. So that formula makes one shorter and the other one longer in that negative direction. So it's opposite this direction and not this direction. So that number will occupy the space. One will be shorter, one will be longer, the other will be shorter. So it will be able to accommodate our spaces, because if they're all on the same position, that is where you have that collision of one over the other, and it's not readable for our users. But one is shorter, the other is longer, is occupying another space, the other one. So that's the concept behind having odd numbers, attaching -1 and 3 as their positions, to make one shorter, to make the other longer, and it's negative because we want it opposite this number, this formula. Okay, so cool. Now we've been able to achieve that, and I'm going to drag that to our view because we do not need it in labels. And so it's a measure, and we're going to make sure we have dual axis ticked. It's giving me 0 because it's an automatic, so I will revert to bars. So once that is done, I will come in here and synchronize the axis. Okay, so now it's synchronized. You can see that the names of the customers are here, and I have even and odd numbers all in one place. You can see the -1, -3 concept I said. Now we're going to hide this one by unticking the show header, and I'm also going to hide this. Cool, so that is done. Okay, so the next step is let's go back to it. What I did was to create, we've created 3 calculated field. Now I just created another calculated field for our apple. If you do not want apple in your own situation, you can just use customer name. But before we go right on, I'll come to this next second visualization, which is this bar chart, the label position. I'll make it thin, and that's why it's thin like that. You can see. All right, and I'm going to remove measure names. I'm going to remove modular and stuff like that, and here I'm going to put the customer name if that's what you want, or let's just try product name. That's quite. So let's just go back and use our customer name, because that's the purpose why we have all these bar charts displayed. There you have it. You see how neatly it has been able to label it. But in my own case, I just created a new calculator field because I just thought, let's just give them fruits rather than giving them names. You can come in and hide. You do not need this one. You can just drag them out, and drag this out. Okay, you do not need this, except otherwise you can also change the color. Let's use some other colors. And again, we want to achieve the same thing, but because we've not created the first one, but so let's just go a step ahead and let's come in and just change this to a color in case this is what you want. Okay, just so mission accomplished. So let's go to our calculated field, fruits. Now this fruit is just saying if it's the modular is hard, give it apple. If it's else, if it's even, give it this. We do not necessarily need banana because there is no logic to it, but it's just attaching mango and a fruit, so you can only have two fruits in there. And so I'm going to drag this out and bring my fruit into the labels instead. And there we have it. Now this is reflecting because it's quite small. If I make it bigger, it's going to give me more. It's going to hide this first one, I mean. Cool. So, and I can decide to add my customer names to the second one, that's the upper bar chart, to the labels. And I will come to the center, or to the label formatting, and I'll make this centralized, and I'll make and I'll add fruits to the color. That's how I was able to achieve orange and bananas. You can see this. Let's bring fruits again to the colors. So there we have it. Bar charts now synchronized together, all like beautiful symphony and well replicated. You can decide to see, oh, this man Eric Murdoch as apple, and you can enhance visualization as you want. Again, it's called a variable offset chart discovered by one of the Tableau champions. And so there we have it. Thanks for watching.